Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Annarah Cymone about The Midnight Club, which is currently streaming worldwide on Netflix. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's spooky season. We knew about this show for a while. I remember when it was announced, it was like one of those okay, I'm going to watch it, automatically, right? Has it hit you that people are finally able to see it?
Kind of. It's still so weird because it's like a slow trickle in, but it is Netflix. So you can binge it so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird that it's out, but I'm really, really excited for everyone to see it.
Not your first time working on a Mike Flanagan project. I feel like with this one, working on Midnight Mass, you kind of know what to expect maybe from Midnight Club, but also at the end of the day, maybe not, right?
Yeah. Because it was a lot. It was really cool because it was a lot of the same people. It was like going back to school after a break, and it had a lot of the same crew, but it was really interesting to work with a whole new cast, and everyone was younger. So it was people my age. There was always a lot of music playing behind the scenes.
What is it like? I mean, you can answer this two ways. You can answer it specifically about the Mike Flanagan universe and then just about horror. We'll go in general horror and then talk about Mike afterwards. But what's it like working on stuff in the horror thriller genre, knowing that there's such a big appetite for it these days?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a scaredy cat, so I don't really have to do much work if we're doing a scene where we have to be terrified, because I'm terrible at watching horror, but I watch all of Mike's things because he does a good job of integrating the drama with the horror and the comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does have a really big fan base that I didn't know about before because I'm such a scaredy cat.
Genre bending. I feel like that's what he does.
Yes.
Isn't it funny how genre bending is the thing now? There's always trends. Remember a couple years ago, for food, hot sauce was the biggest thing of all time.
Well, I mean, yeah, I love hot sauce, so I'm down for it.
I brought that. I keep bringing that up as a segue into my genre bending, and then it becomes a conversation about hot sauce. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and take that thing out of my interviews. I did an interview recently. It's oh yeah, what kind of hot sauce do you like? I'm like.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a can of worms because I love hot ones and trying them new stuff.
Yeah, but I remember when hot ones was literally. I still watch it. I am subscribed, and every time there's a new one, I will dial in and watch it.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You know what? I feel like Midnight Mass was an ensemble cast, and your character was kind of around a lot of characters. But for this one, this really is an ensemble cast. You know what I mean? You're with all these these characters the whole time and everything. What was that kind of dynamic compared to Midnight Mass? Where Midnight Mass, your character is kind of involved with a lot of different characters. With this one, it's the same core group of people throughout the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was very different, really cool. A lot of the days, in the library, we were going insane because it was all of us were there just all day, going a little loopy, not knowing what time it is. But it was really cool to kind of get the relationships that you have on screen and figure out how to form them. And it was a lot easier, I feel because we were always constantly around each other. So maybe something that would happen offset would kind of bleed into the show a little bit, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. What was the process of kind of getting involved? I mean, the audition process. Did you audition for the character you got? Were there other conversations with Mike and the directors and writers about where you would be? I'm just curious about that because you are part of the Mike Flanagan universe, so it might not be as easy as oh, I auditioned and I got it. Maybe it's like that, but I'm just curious if there's more to that.
Yeah. Well, it was while we were filming Midnight Mass that they started talking about Midnight Club, and I was he was telling us about it. And I was oh my God, that sounds so cool. And then I think it was the last week of Midnight Mass, he came and talked to me and was we're looking, and I was okay, not expecting much. And then I think a week after I got home, he called and was you want to be in the Midnight Club and do you want to play Sandra? And I was yes, I do. So yeah, it was quite quick.
It's interesting that you mentioned that though about you being kind of a scaredy cat. I don't know if Sandra's full out scaredy cat, but there are moments in the show, I don't want to go into spoilers, where there's some scary stuff that happens to Sandra, right? So,
Yeah.
like, what was that? Because, like, there's a few scenes, and I don't want to kind of talk, I don't want to, I want to go in fresh. I want the audience going fresh, but there's, like, a few scenes that are really terrifying involving Sandra. So, like, what was that like filming those specific terrifying, like, horror scenes?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I am a scaredy cat, and so she's a little bit. So it's like pretty easy to match how I feel like she would be feeling. Like there's like a not really a spoiler, but like a scare in episode 1 where I like jump out of my chair and I was like, oh, easy, because she's screaming at my face. But yeah, it was kind of like we were similar in that way. They're both kind of scaredy cats, so it was quite easy to just turn it on.
Yeah, that first tale is just nonstop screams, and it's like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is Mike like warming up the audience, because the show has like the slow burn moments, but there's some very, I'm gonna make an argument. It's different because people look at Mike Flanagan's stuff different. I think it's the scariest Mike Flanagan show, to be honest with you, out of all of them. Yes. Yeah, but some people are like think that, Blythe Manor and like the first one, like Haunting at Hill House. Like Haunting at Hill House was terrifying. Yeah.
Yes. I had to watch that one with other people because I was like, oh, I'll be fine. And then there was a lot of scares and like, the scare in the car. I was like, no, I need people to hold my hand while I watch this show.
Midnight Mass had its scary moments, but was very like that. If you're not dialed into a show, like you will not experience the show. Do you know what I mean by that?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Did it feel like that reading Midnight Mass? Did it feel like, wow, like we got to pay attention here?
I mean, yeah, and like we got all the scripts at once.
Okay.
And
I can't even imagine what that's
exactly.
like.
I went through them so fast because you're like, oh, okay. I like episode 1. I was like, this is insane. I finished them all in like I think I finished them all in like 2 days. So it was really quick, but it was quite different with Midnight Club because we didn't have all the scripts at the beginning. And so we were kind of just getting them as we were going. And it was like reading them being like, oh my God. And so that was a cool aspect too, like different because we didn't have all the material and you kind of have to like figure out how to form your character while still not knowing some of the information.
Yeah. And a lot of Mike Flanagan's work, but we're talking about the Midnight Club. It's scary. It's horror. It's got tough subject matter. It does. You know what I mean? And some episodes are very, very difficult to watch. Like episode 7 is a very difficult watch. Yeah. Very tough watch.
Yeah.
Can you prepare yourself as much as you can, I guess, for what's to come knowing the scripts? Because it's got the horror, but it's very, like, it deals with a lot of important issues, but deals with a lot of tough subject matter as well.
Yeah. First, I want to say episode 7, Ruth Codd is insane. Anyway, she's so good. But yeah, I think with Mike's horror, like I was saying, how you were saying, it's very genre bending. It's like you go like horror is like scary and like gory and bloody and all that stuff, but you do have like real life horrors in your life, that things that people go through. And I think he does a really good job of kind of meshing them together. So especially in this show, you're getting like the laughs and like it's about kids, being kids. Really, they're going through this terrible thing. They still worry about who their friends are and like if they like this boy and stuff. So yeah, I just think he does a really good job of putting it all together, and I think you can get like all of it in this show. Yeah.
What are the conversations like with your cast, knowing like what's to come, basically? Like when you have those scenes at the library, like there's conversations about death and conversations about life and the afterlife. And like, I'm just curious, like what those conversations are like before you kind of dive into a scene specifically.
Yeah. I mean, it's different every time. I mean, we did have a lot of just like conversations as a cast, just like, because like the show, you are dealing with these things, and like as a human being, you are curious, and so we have these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why. For sure.
Yeah, a lot of the time you would just go in like we were all prepared in our character, and like what they were gonna say, how they were feeling, and we would just go in and kind of see what happens, which is what I really love about working on this show and this set, is that everyone just came in and threw everything into like a mix, and it was like all these different personalities, and things happening, and so just trying to figure it out. But of course, I mean, we had those conversations all the time, like a lot of conversations about just like the afterlife and things like that. But yeah.
Could you imagine if there was, because there's a lot of escape rooms and horror themed escape rooms happening. Could you imagine
Yeah.
like a Midnight Club escape room in the library?
Oh my, I mean, yeah, that set was insane. We did the table read in that set, and it was actually 2 stories. You can go up there, like the art department, and
It looks big. Like when you watch it, like it looks big. Yeah.
it is so big and so beautiful, and yeah, they did a great job with that.
Absolutely. Annarah Cymone is a storyteller. That's what you do. Is it safe to say the best part about being a storyteller is basically like diving into all these different worlds, playing all these different characters? Is that the best part about it?
Yeah, I mean, this job in particular was like a dream. I mean, every actor wants to do as many roles as they can that are very different from each other, and I think like with our, I guess, B stories, we're calling them, with Sandra's in particular,
Yeah.
I get to make her so different from Sandra. But like a lot of the times, the stories, like we were saying, as a cast, they kind of use like the story time as therapy. So like, if they have something tough to talk about, they do it in a fun, fantastical way. But yeah, the storytelling aspect of it is always the part you're looking for.
I feel like flashbacks are always a very, like, I can't even imagine being in like the writer's room for like a show involving flashbacks because I feel like there's so much. I mean, this one takes it to a whole different level, but like, I feel like, isn't there so many things that come to mind with flashbacks, like aesthetic, the backstory, like I can't even imagine.
Yeah, aesthetic, like, yeah, and that, like, with the flashbacks and the stories, like they all had very specific like looks to them.
Yeah.
Like with mine, it has like I'll just say a little spoiler, but it's like the black and white, you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And so we all got to go to like kind of different film areas a little bit, especially with mine. I was really, really excited to do that. But yeah, it does have like a different vibe.
I'm always like, I know it's out, like people can watch it now, but like every time I do interviews, like I tiptoe around. Like I love people going into a lot of shows fresh because, in my opinion, that's the best way to do it. To be honest with you, like you go in. Do you agree with me on that? Like you go in, you watch it. Yeah.
I love to like. Sometimes the best movies are the ones you don't watch the trailer. You just like don't know. You just go in.
This was the one. This was but it's so funny about Midnight Club. It's like I was talking to my family about this too. We've been waiting for this show for a long time. Like we knew about this for a while, and it's funny. It's really but it's special, right? To be part of a show that like people have marked on their calendars, right, for a long time. It's pretty cool to think about that.
It's the Mike Flanagan effect. I feel like, you're even now like. They filmed like The Fall of the House of Usher, which is a lot of the people I know obviously are in that show. And it's like, oh, now I have to wait like a whole year. Like, it takes so long for like post-production or whatever. But I think it is like the Mike Flanagan effect with his name on it. You're like so excited to see what he does next.
No, absolutely. And when people get a chance to watch the Midnight Club, which is streaming now worldwide on Netflix, what are you hoping they get out of it takeaway wise?
Yeah. I mean, the takeaway that I think is most important to me is that friendship and family can really hold you up. Yep. And that no matter like what you're going through or what's ahead of you, you want to always reach out to people and try to find, like a common ground and I guess like to always be kind. You never know what someone's going through. So like, I think just like the camaraderie of it all and like, just like make friends and love people. Just say I love you to everybody more,
Absolutely. Annarah, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. So great chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
All the episodes streaming now on Netflix. You have an Instagram account, right? Like that's the best way for people to keep up to date.
It's just Annarah Cymone. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, you can catch Annarah Cymone as Sandra in the Midnight Club, streaming now worldwide on Netflix. Till next time, this is Annarah and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.